Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through this mini course that's going to be recording about how to build an agro-marketplace using bubble.io in 2022. My name is Akombi Damala, and very briefly, what we're going to be going through in this brief tutorial is how to create a marketplace. I'll be focusing on agro, that's agriculture, and how to build a minimum viable product. So we're going to look at things like user login and registration pages, buyer, seller, and both registrations, seller dashboards, a marketplace dashboard to show the fresh produce, and profile management. So I'm not going to go into more advanced features like backend workflows, API integrations, and other things as such. Just the simple things, right? And the real goal behind this tutorial, which is for business owners, founders, and startups, is really to showcase what you can build with Bubble quickly. And hopefully, if you have any product or idea that you want to create, you can get started with using Bubble, or even better, you can consult me and I could help build it for you. So my details are in the description, and I hope you reach out. Thank you, and have a happy building session. Take care. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming into this lecture. And we're going to go straight ahead to create the Agro-Marketplace because we want to do this quick, we want to do this fast, and we want to do it efficient. So I'm going to call it No Farms. And what are we building? We're building a marketplace. And is it internal or external? So internal is employee facing, external is for users. So I'm going to use users. And you can describe details about your app. I'm just going to leave that. So I'm going to say start a business and create a new app. So like I explained, earlier, the purpose of me doing this primarily is for business owners to understand what you can do with Bubble and what you can build with Bubble. And in the next few minutes, we're going to be able to see that, right? We're going to build something very straightforward, a very nice marketplace, right? So that's the purpose of going through this tutorial, like we are going through. All right, let's go ahead. So I'm just going to skip this application assistant. We know what we're doing. All right, so now we're in the Bubble backend, and this is basically the where we're able to build what we want to build with Bubble. I have other videos that go extensively into the design elements sections, the workflows, the data, the styles, which works like CSS. This way plugins to add additional plugins to your application, and then of course you have your settings. So I'm not really going to go deep into any of this, but I'll just explain that design element is where basically we work on the front end to design the application. So this is where we put like buttons, this is where we put like text, images to basically design the app, right? And then workflows is where you do the backend, workflows, the if this then that. Basically this is where we set up the conditional workflows in terms of what we want the app to be able to do, what we want each button to do, what we want each input in terms of inputs changed, what we want, the actions that we want as a result of those inputs being changed. So all of those things are done in workflows. Data is usually where you set up the data structure of your application. So basically the kind of data that you're going to be working with, and obviously the structure of that data, how that data is going to flow, from one level to another, and the responsiveness of it. And then you have option sets. So option sets just basically, rather than using a data type for different things, sometimes you can use option sets, which basically allows you to use options, in terms of your data. So for example, let's say you're trying to see for a marketplace now, you're trying to see different options for like categories. So let's say baby fruits, let's say vegetables, let's say carrots, let's say yams, tubers, etc. So those will fall under option sets. So it's like an ABCD option, rather than you just having one data type. And a file manager is basically where all the file of your app is managed, right? So I'm going to start from the settings, because settings, I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to go to general, because this is basically where I can set the colors of my application. Let's go back. Settings. Okay, so I'm just going to set this color. So this will be my brand color, this green. Then I'm going to have a gray color called EB. It's just light gray. And I'm going to have all lines. I'm also going to use a black called all threes. And I'm going to have a secondary color, which I'm going to make, I think I'm just going to make my secondary color blue. Let's just select it, or purple. Yeah, I think a purple is okay. And I like this red color. All right, everyone. So now that we've been able to talk about that, next thing I want to talk about is your data, right? So here we're able to more or less formulate the kind of data that this app should have. So obviously the app should have users. It should have an email. The user should have an email. The user should have they should have a username. I think that's really fair. So this would be a text. And they should have, what else should they have? They should have an image for their profile. Image. All right. And then now we're going to use option sets, because I'm going to create, I'm just going to skip the tutorial. So I'm going to just say user type, and I'm going to call this buyer, create. I'm going to call this seller, create. And I'm going to call this both, create. So these are option sets. So now I'm going to go to my data type and say create a new field, and I'm going to say type. I'm going to look for field type. Instead of saying the generic text, I'm going to look for user type, right? And I'm going to create. So that's it. So they're either going to be a buyer, a seller, or both. And we're going to be using this, going forward in the application, right? So now I'm going to create a new data type, and I'm going to call this data type produce. So what does a produce have? So produce has a name, obviously, or I can call it a title, and this is a text. It has a subtitle. It's also a text. So this is more or less like a description. I'm going to change this to description. A product has an image, so it's product image. I'm just going to call it image, and it's also an image. And then product has a price. I'm going to call this so this is a number. And then product has a category, but because this category is going to be an option set, it's going to be a list of options which we're going to create very soon. So I'm just going to leave that, I'm just going to leave that blank, right? And then what else does a product have? So a product has someone that created it, right? And the person that created it is a buyer. So it's going to be linked to a user, which is already a field, the creator. So the person who creates this product is probably the seller of the product, right? So it's going to just be that will be creator. So I think that's enough for now. What other things do we need? So we need an order, right? So what is an order? An order is basically, somebody wants to buy a product, or they want to make an inquiry about a product. So they create an order, right? So what does an order have? So an order obviously has a produce, which is so this time it's not a text, it's a produce. So this is how we link data together. So I'm just going to create that, and yeah, so for now it just has a produce, and it also has, this the person, the buyer, that's the creator. And what else does an order have? Well, an order has quantity, right? That's like how many products are we looking to buy. It has a quantity. So once you multiply the quantity by the price of the produce, you'd have a total amount. So an order has an amount, like a total amount, which is also a number, right? What else does an order have? Well, somebody places an order, they click place order, they see the details of the produce, then they're able to select the amount of quantity they want to buy, and then that shows them the total amount, and then they place an order, and it's confirmed that they've placed an order, right? So we could also have like a yes or no field, where when somebody places an order, we can have it that, okay, is this order confirmed, yes or no, you know so that's just a yes or no field. And usually on Bubble, yes or no fields usually have a default field of no, until it's changed to yes. All right, so I think for now this is basically the data that we need to create. Once we are building our application, on the front end, we can always either change it from the front end. We can always, modify or add to the data that we need, or we could always, change this right here from the front end. So that's basically all about that, right? So now we're going to go into creating the front end, and basically start designing the application and working with workflows and things like that. And the first thing, alright guys, sorry for the noise. It's actually raining right here in Lagos, and we just have to make do with what we have. So to kickstart this whole process, I think there's something that we forgot to do here, under the data section for produce. We didn't add categories. So I'm just going to create a bit of category right now. So I'm just going to create category. So it's going to be an option set, and I'm going to just say carrots, let's yams. I'm just going to create like 5 rice, beans, and vegetables. Sorry about that. Okay. And so once we've done that, next thing I want to do is that I want to reduce this to 80%, because what I'm going to be doing is going to stretch across the entire screen. So I want you to be able to see it, and I usually use 80% so that I could see what I'm doing. So I'm going to change the width to 120, 180, and I'm just going to leave the length at 900, because an average iPhone is 320 pixels. That's like the lowest size, so developers usually work with 320 pixels. So the 320 pixels times 4 gives you 180, which is a very fair standard for development, right? And yeah, so that's what we are going to be working with. And for the layout, I'm just going to change the layout from fixed to column. I'm not going to go into depth into this. I have other tutorials about that. And since this is created for business purposes, I just want to demonstrate what Bubble can do for your business or for your startup idea if you're a founder, so that you could, work with us, or you could also use Bubble to build something yourself. Whichever way you want to go about it is fine and it's perfect. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is that I just want to create the sign up process, right? So the sign up and the onboarding, and that's what I want to use today to do. So basically, you have somebody who comes to your website, to your application, to your marketplace. You want them to sign up. You want them to be a user. So what's the process of going about that? Well, it's pretty straightforward. And first of all, I'm going to get a group, and I'm just going to draw this group inside here. and I'm going to call this group overall, because it's like the overall group over everything. And for the layout, I'm going to give this group a margin of 50 on the top because I want it to extend downwards a bit. And I'm just going to say that I want this group to be a column group, and I don't want it to be fixed width, right? Because I want it to stretch from edge to edge, no minimum width, but I want it to have a maximum width of 960 pixels. All right, so, and then I want it centralized. And yeah. And also here, because I want the container alignment here, I want this group A. So I'm just looking for the horizontal alignment because I want this to be right here in the middle. Yeah, that's it. I think that's good. And then the height, so I'm just going to make this height, a minimum width of 600. Although this is not permanent, I'm going to change it because it's going to fit height to content, and because I'm going to be adding more and more content to this page, it's going to keep extending down. So let's leave it at 600 for now. Next thing I want to do is I want to grab another group, and I want to draw that group inside of this group. And I'm going to call this group logging. And I'm going to make this also a column. And for this group, I'm going to make I'm going to remove this. I'm going to make it 640 width. I'm going to make it no minimum width, basically. Okay, so no minimum width, 640 pixels, and minimum height. Well, it's not supposed to have a minimum height, so I'm just going to make the minimum height for now. Let's just make it 400. All right. Okay. And I'm going to change the container layout that's for group overall. I'm just going to push it up because I want it to be coming from the top, not on the center. So yes, I want this group to be on top. Another thing I'm going to do before I go ahead, because it's going to be very hard for you to follow through, I'm just going to create a new style here and call this wireframe, so that you have an idea of what I'm doing. And I'm going to edit this style, and I'm going to choose a flat color background, and I'm going to use this brown color, but I'm going to make it with an opacity of 10%. Yeah. Okay, so change this to wireframe. So you can see just layers and you can see what is underneath. I learned this from build camp, so you can follow ahead with what I'm doing with the different groups and have an idea. So I'm going to center this as well. I'm going to take an image. So this will be like a logo image, just going to place it here. Sorry about that. Paste here. So this image is going to be fixed. I'm just going to call it 250 pixels by 150. And I'm going to centralize it. Okay, so that's it. That's that about that. Next, I'm going to take an input. So input is basically what you use to, they are what you use for, your name, your email, your phone number, things like that. Basically, it's like the form fields. So I'm just going to call this input email login. Input email login. And I'm just going to work on this a bit. Just remove this here. Move the minimum width, move the max width. Okay, so I can just make this a fixed width of, let's just say 60 pixels. Alright, I think that looks good. And I'm going to give a spacing to this, apply a gap spacing so that there's a gap between the elements. I'm just going to say 20 pixels each. And then here, instead of saying type here, I want to say email. I'm not really changing the text. So you see there's a bit of gap here. You have 18 pixels. Okay. And then just copy and paste. I'm going to call this password. I'm going to call this input login password. And then move this copy here. Last thing I'm going to do is just get a button. Where are you, button? Just copy, paste the button here. And rather than saying it to be fixed width, I'm just saying I want a max width of 200. And height is okay, 60 pixels. Horizontally align. And I'm just going to call this login. So that's plugin, and that's my login process. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to just change this color. I want to edit this primary button color. And then I want to use my brand color here, which is this green. All right. So I think I like it. I like the way it's looking. It's coming out nice and proper. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of, sorry about that. I'm just going to add a bit of margin beneath this button. So I'm just going to say 20 pixels. And then I'm going to click on the overall group and then just take out this fit height, minimum height. So it's just going to fit height to the content there. Now that we've done that, I'm just going to copy. Okay, hold on. Let me just take this. Okay, minimum height. Good. I'm just going to copy and paste that there. Right? But there's something that's missing. So let me just Ctrl Z. There's something that's missing. I'm supposed to take a text and just draw it inside here. And I'm just going to take this text and put it here underneath. Then I'll double click this and just say make last and horizontally align. So what I want to say here is don't have an account, question mark, sign up. Right? So this is basically, I'm just going to do some styling here, make this 500 and also center align this. And I'm just going to go to the layout, make this a fixed element, no. Minimum height, no need. Minimum height, no need for this as well. And yeah, we're good to go with that. So I'm going to remove this the margin here. I'm going to remove the margin here, and I'm going to put that margin at the bottom here. So I'm going to stop here for now. When I come back, we're going to go into the development of the login of the group sign up and group onboarding. So we're just working on the wireframes for now, and I hope you're enjoying the lecture so far. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, so now let's go into creating the sign up process. So this is basically just going to be kind of the same thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste, and now I'm going to call this group. So this is just going to be group sign up, and I'm going to delete this. I'm just going to say, I'm going to call this sign up button sign up. Oops. Yeah, button sign up, and I'm just going to say have an account. Login. Alright, so I'm also going to change, this is really important because on the back end I want to make sure that this is saying input sign up, so that I don't mix the inputs for sign up for login, I don't mix the inputs for login for sign up, password sign up. Okay, so there we have it. So there's one more group I'm going to create, and it's going to be called group on board, and I'm just going to copy and paste this again. And where are you? Okay, so I think maybe the height of the page is too small, so I'm just going to make this 2000. Okay. Yeah, so we can scroll down a bit. I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm going to make this make first. I'll just double click it and say make first. I'm going to remove the bottom margin here. Got it. So I'm just going to, then I'm going to say just a few more steps. So this is group onboarding really, where we get more information about the person. I'm going to make this 24. Just and then for here, I make this a 700. And I make this on each one. So I would like to add an image, not an image, sorry, a picture uploader. So this is just this element which we can use to get images. Excuse me, let's copy this. Just gonna click this inside here. Click it, and then make first, then next. Then I want to centralize it. Click on the center. And let's say this is 100 by 100 pixels. For this, I can say add a profile photo or add profile photo. profile is twice. And then I'm just going to remove the style here. Just going to click outside here. And for the roundness, I want this to look like a circle. So since the total size is 100 by 100, then I want the roundness to be at least 50% of that, so which is 50. Okay. Now, rather than this being email, this is going to read as first name, sorry, I can just say username, which is a text, and then for the profile type, I'm going to use a drop down. Cut that from there. Okay, yeah, looking good. Click on layout, click on next, press the move this, make this 60 pixels, and here I'll just say, so I'm just going to configure this now. I say select your profile type, and then rather than say static choices, I'm going to say this is a dynamic choices. So this is, it will draw out data from the back end, from our data section. And here the kind of data I want to draw out for selection is user type here. Right? So then it says choices source. So I'll say all the user types, all of them. So then I'm going to say I want the display to show. Right? I can also say if I want a default value, but I don't want a default value. And then something that's really important is this input should not be empty. I'm going to do that for every one of our inputs. This input should not be empty. This input should not be empty. This input should not be empty. And actually, this should be an email, not just text, so that it can validate if it's a correct email or not. And this input should not be empty. Also, this input should not be empty, and this should be email, not text. So I'm just going to also rename this as as group onboarding. Right, and then this will say go to marketplace. I can also say proceed to marketplace. Look, I make this 300. Okay, so that's it about the wireframe for our different sign up registration application. So this is the logo of the app. So rather than use a logo, I'm thinking of just using a text. So let me just copy this and let me paste it here. I'm thinking of using a text rather than using a logo. So I'm just going to take out this logo image here. And I'm going to give this a padding of 20 by all sides. So I'm just going to do a bit of design, pardon me. 20, 20, 20, 20 height. Then style I'm using for is can't really remember the name. It's pardon. I'm trying to remember the name of the style. I mean, maybe I might just come back and change the style later, but for now, let me just use a Sora, which is not really my favorite style, but just have to work with something for now until I can remember the name of the style, then I'll come and change it. So I'm just going to say I want this to be a 36, yeah. Okay, then lastly, just call this no farms. Yeah. Yeah, I like how that looks. Let me change the color a bit to no, it's okay, I like the color. Okay, so there we go. Alright. So no farms, we got the email. Alright, so the first thing I want to work on is the fact that I want a situation that when somebody gets to this page, the only thing that shows is the this login form, right? But then if something happens and maybe they click on don't have an account to sign up, then rather than show this login form, it shows this sign up form, and then it shows the other things as well coming after. So how do we do that? I'm just going to come out here and click this outside, and I'm going to delete this. Good. Yeah, so now this works perfectly. Works perfectly. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to configure is this. So don't have an account. I want you to click Start Edit Workflow, and so what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the page. We're going to use parameters to determine what shows. So we're going to go back to the index, but don't go back to the index alone. Carry with you a parameter that says when you can use any letter, and I'm just going to use V. So when V is sign up, right? So you also go back to the home page, but carry a parameter called sign up. I don't know if you get what I've done now, right? So I've said that when you click on this particular don't have an account sign up, it's going to take the it's going to create a workflow where you're going to navigate back to the home page. This is this index page, but then it's not going to go empty, and it's going to have a parameter called sign up. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Not this one, sorry. I'm supposed to delete this. Okay, so here we are. So have an account login. So I'm just going to click Start Edit Workflow. And then, of course, it's going to be navigation. Go to page. Index page. Send more parameters. And then V is going to be login. Got it. login. Okay, so there we have it. So now I'm going to do something else, which is going to be also very interesting. And I'm going to say that you know what, there's no need to do what we just did now. There's really no need to do that because I want something to show on default. And what I want to show on default is the login page. So rather than just go to the index page, don't carry any parameters. Because what I'm going to do is that if the page does not have any parameters, right, then we're just going to assume that it's group login that will show. All right. So I'm going to click on group login. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this element is visible on page load. Collapse when indeed. So collapse when indeed means that when this element is not visible, it's not going to take up this space. It's going to break this space so that this would come up. And I'm going to create a condition. The condition I'm going to create is simple. That when so I'm going to say get data from page URL. So that's from the URL index, and the parameter is v, and it's a text. So I'm going to say when the v is empty, no, is not empty, excuse me, then I want this element not to show. So I'm not going to tick this element is visible, it's going to be unticked. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this expression because I'm going to use it a couple of times. Now, I'm going to go here and this is group sign up. And here I'm going to say this element is not visible on page load and collapse when hidden. All right. So now I'm going to say, I'm just going to copy and paste this here, paste the expression. So I'm going to say that when get v from page URL is sign up, then I want this element to show. This element is visible. Yes, I'm going to take it. Now, for the last one, even though we've not configured how this would show, I'm going to say that first of all, I'm going to change this here. The element is visible, no. Collapse when hidden, yes. Conditionals, find another condition. And I'm going to say that when the page URL is on board, this element is visible. Yes. Just going to add the 20 pixels underneath here. I'm just going to add the 20 pixels underneath there. All right, so now that we've resolved what shows up and how it shows up. So just to walk you through again, login shows up only when the page URL of v is empty. Sign up shows up only when the parameter for the index has sign up attached to it, and on board only shows up when the parameter has on board to it. So just simple workflows that we've set up. Now I'm going to go ahead to configure this button. So I'm just going to say that start edit workflow. So what I want you to do is sign up the user, account, log the user in, excuse me. And for the email, so I'm going to say the input email logins value, right? Then for the password, it's going to be input password logins value. This is why I wanted it to have email login so that we'll be able to configure that. Now where they are going to go next, we're going to configure this some other time, not now. We're just configuring the whole process of logging in and signing up. Now, for signing up, I'm not going to click Start Edit Workflow. And I'm going to sign the user up. And this time, instead of saying input email login, it's going to be input email signups value. And then I'm going to put input passwords signups value. Right. Next thing I want you to do is, after you sign the person up, then I want you to go to the page, back to the index page, index, and now I don't want you to go into added because I want you to send a parameter with you, and the parameter is v is equals to onboard. Do you get it now? So this is like the flow of, after they've signed up, we want them to be able to register. So we want them to go through the onboarding process, right? And it's after they've gone through the onboarding process that they can now proceed to the marketplace. Even though we've not yet configured, the marketplace yet, I'm just going to create a page so that we can see the flow in action. Okay, so I'm just going to start edit workflow, and now instead of creating a new user, I'm going to make changes to current user when I click that button. So the fields, I'm going to add all fields. No, okay, yeah. Then for the image, I'm going to change this to the picture uploaders, this to the value of that profile. Then this is going to be the drop down, select your profile's value. And then for the username, it's going to be the input. All right, you see we've made a mistake somewhere. This is why it's always important to name your stuff correctly. As you can see, this is said input. So you should say input username. All right, so I'm going to go back to the workflow tab, and then I'm going to say input username is value. Now I'm going to go to the marketplace navigation, go to the page. So I'm going to create a new page. I'm going to call the page marketplace. I'm not going to clone it, it's just going to be a fresh page. And yeah, so go to the marketplace. I'm also going to do the same thing in login here. So just go to navigation, go to the page, and the page is marketplace. All right, so before we test it out, I'm just going to go to marketplace and just, yeah, let me just going to copy this. Let's go to the marketplace. Yeah, I'm just going to paste that there. I'm just going to say marketplace. I'm going to take this out, but just for us to test and see this working. Let me just change the layout of this to 1280 and 2000. Not 20,000, 2000. Just make this a column. All right. So now we can go ahead to test out our workflow and see how it functions. So first of all, I'm just going to preview. All right. Okay. So you see, I like the way it's looking. It's looking really pretty. The reason why it's extending beyond the way it is like this is because um, we have this minimum height here. So if I take out this minimum height, it's just going to fit to the current height of the contents that we have there. So if I refresh this now, you can see it's not going to, the group is not going to extend beyond what we have here. Yeah, see, just stops here. And this wireframe helps us to see the elements around what we are doing. So I'm just going to put my email and my password, so talvingagency@gmail.com. Just going to put a generic password. So this is login. So I'm going to click this to go to the sign up. So you see it changes it immediately. Since I don't have an account, there's no point trying to log in. And then password. Okay. And so once I sign up, it takes me to the onboarding process, just a few more steps. Can add my profile, image. Click on that. That brings up capacity to add your profile image. So I'm just going to use this as my profile image. And username, I'm just going to call this Ray Johnson. And profile, I'm going to select both, then proceed to marketplace. So you see, it has taken us straight into the marketplace, and here you have marketplace here. So that's basically it with creating a sign up and a login process for your marketplace. I didn't really go into much of the design elements because I I just want to make this tutorial short. But if we just say, okay, let's really work on the design bit. For example, I can take out this wireframe. I just turn this back to the foregroup and then take this out as well and make this a default group. So that will make everything white again. And I can create like a nice border around this. So I'm just going to come out here. And then I just create a nice border style around this. I can make this solid. I can say this is no roundness. And I can give this EB, EB, EB. Where do we have EB, EB, EB? I believe I added EB, EB as one of my colors. Amazing. EB, EB, EB. Thank you. Was it there? Was it that it was there and I did not see it? I don't think it was. Another thing I want to do is I just want to add a bit of padding around, the elements. Just make sure that they look a little bit nice. 20, 20, 20, 20, 22, 20. All right. Yeah. So, can do the same thing for. So if you want to open the other groups here that are, that are hidden, you can just come down here and open them, all of that. But I think this padding covers everything. Yeah, I think it looks good. Let's go back to here. So I'm just going to go back to the index page. I think this should be the index page. Yeah. Yeah, so you see we have this really nice padding around it, and it just makes it look a lot professional. Yeah. So I can log in with the email I used before. Not sure if I still remember the password. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Back to the marketplace. So, I mean, it looks really neat, it looks pretty nice. So now we're going to go into the development of the marketplace. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.